Why is it that so many good men find themselves stuck in relationship limbo, always available but never quite essential? You text back immediately. You're there whenever she calls. You've rearranged your schedule countless times just to see her, and yet somehow you're still just an option, the backup plan. Think about that for a moment. How many Friday nights have you spent waiting for that text that might never come? How many times have you heard those painfully familiar words, "I'm not sure what I'm doing yet," or "let me get back to you"? And how many times have you convinced yourself that being patient, being understanding, being constantly available would finally make her see your worth? But it hasn't worked, has it? I know this feeling intimately. The confusion of being just enough of a priority to keep around, but never important enough to be the first choice. It's a special kind of emotional purgatory, one where you're simultaneously needed and overlooked, valued, yet somehow expendable. And here's what makes it even more frustrating. You're probably a catch. You've got your life together in many ways. You're kind. You're attentive. You're the person she calls when she needs advice or support or just someone to listen. But somehow, despite all these qualities, you've settled into the role of emotional support without the relationship you actually want. You've become comfortable being uncomfortable. Let's be honest about something painful. Being someone's backup plan isn't something that just happens to you. It's a position you've allowed yourself to occupy. And the longer you stay there, the more it becomes your identity in her eyes. But why do we fall into this pattern? Why do smart, worthy men end up as perpetual options rather than priorities? Part of it stems from a fundamental misunderstanding about attraction. You've been taught that being nice, being available, being understanding would make you desirable, that putting her needs first would make her value you more. But in reality, constant availability often communicates something entirely different, that your time has little value, that your boundaries are negotiable, and that your self-respect is conditional. You became so focused on being what she might want that you forgot to be what you actually need. A man with standards, with boundaries, with a life that doesn't revolve around her unpredictable orbit. The uncomfortable truth is that people rarely value what comes too easily. We cherish what we earn, what challenges us, what makes us rise to the occasion. And when you present yourself as an always available, never disappointing option, you inadvertently devalue the very thing you want her to appreciate, your presence in her life. But there's another layer to this pattern, something deeper and more personal. Many of us have internalized a belief that we must earn love through utility, by being useful, helpful, available. We've convinced ourselves that if we can just be valuable enough, supportive enough, patient enough, then we'll finally be chosen. This mindset creates a dangerous equation in our minds. Service equals worthiness, and so we serve and wait and hope that our dedication will eventually translate into priority. It rarely does. Instead, we find ourselves trapped in a self-reinforcing cycle. The more we accept being a backup option, the more we're treated as one. The more we tolerate last-minute invitations and inconsistent attention, the more we communicate that this treatment is acceptable. We become complicit in our own devaluation. Let me ask you something important. When was the last time you felt truly excited about where things stand with her? Not hopeful about what might happen someday, but genuinely satisfied with the present reality. If you're struggling to remember, that's your answer right there. The good news, and yes, there is good news, is that this situation can change, but that change won't come from doing more of what hasn't been working. It will require something both simpler and more difficult, becoming a man who is unwilling to be anyone's second choice. So how do we make this transformation? How do we shift from backup plan to priority? It starts with understanding a fundamental truth about attraction that most men miss entirely. Women are not primarily attracted to men who need them. They're attracted to men who want them while maintaining their own complete lives. The difference is crucial. When you need someone, you orient your entire existence around their validation. Your mood depends on their texts. Your schedule opens up at their convenience. Your self-worth rises and falls with their attention. This creates an energy of quiet desperation that is immediately felt, even when it's not openly expressed. But when you want someone from a place of fullness rather than emptiness, everything changes. You can appreciate them without needing their approval. You can desire their company without being devastated by their absence. You can be generous with your attention without giving away your power. This shift requires practical steps, not just philosophical understanding. So let's talk about what you need to do differently starting today. First, you need to reclaim your time and rebuild your boundaries. This means no more dropping everything when she calls. No more keeping your calendar open just in case she's free. No more instantly responding to every message as if your life depended on it. Instead, maintain your own schedule. Pursue your interests. Spend time with friends who value your presence. Build a life that's engaging and fulfilling even without her in it. Not as a strategy to make her jealous, but as a necessary step toward personal integrity. This might feel counterintuitive. You might worry that if you're not constantly available, she'll forget about you or find someone else. But consider the alternative. Continuing to be available hasn't made you a priority, has it? The truth is that creating some space isn't about playing games. It's about establishing a healthy dynamic where your time is recognized as valuable. Second, you need to practice honest communication without attachment to outcomes. This means having the courage to express what you actually want from the relationship instead of pretending to be satisfied with scraps of attention. It might sound something like, "I've enjoyed the time we've spent together, but I'm looking for someone who's excited to make plans with me and follow through consistently. That's important to me in a relationship." Notice what this does. It clearly states your standards without blaming or criticizing. It puts the focus on what you're seeking rather than what she's failing to provide. And most importantly, it communicates that you have options and expectations. The key here is detachment from her response. You're not saying this to manipulate her into changing. You're saying it because it's true, and because speaking your truth is part of reclaiming your power. Third, and perhaps most challenging, you need to be willing to walk away from situations that don't meet your needs. This isn't about delivering ultimatums. It's about quietly, confidently redirecting your energy toward people and experiences that reflect your worth back to you. This is where most men falter. We get so invested in a particular outcome with a particular person that we forget the ultimate goal, to be in a mutually satisfying relationship with someone who values us. Not to convince one specific person to choose us despite their obvious reluctance. Remember, becoming someone's priority isn't about becoming perfect or proving your worth through endless demonstrations of patience. It's about recognizing your own inherent value and allowing that self-respect to inform every interaction. When you truly believe that you deserve to be more than an afterthought in someone's life, you naturally begin to move differently. You speak with more confidence. You set clearer boundaries. You respond to inconsistency not with anxious texts, but with calm redirection of your attention elsewhere. And here's what happens when you make these changes. Either she begins to see you differently, recognizing the shift in your energy and responding to your newfound self-respect, or she doesn't, in which case you've saved yourself from investing more precious time in someone who was never going to give you what you deserve. Either outcome represents progress. The journey from backup plan to priority isn't about specific tactics or manipulation. It's about a fundamental shift in how you view yourself and what you're willing to accept. It's about recognizing that being chosen last, or not being chosen at all, by someone who doesn't fully value you is actually freeing you up for people who will. This transformation won't happen overnight. There will be moments of doubt, moments when old patterns feel safer than new uncertainties. But with each small act of self-respect, with each boundary maintained, with each honest conversation, you rebuild your foundation. And gradually, something remarkable happens. You stop needing to be her priority because you've become your own. You stop waiting for validation because you've remembered how to validate yourself. You stop accepting crumbs because you've reconnected with your hunger for the whole meal. This is the paradox at the heart of attraction. When you no longer need someone to choose you, you become infinitely more choosable. So today, make a promise to yourself. Promise that you'll no longer participate in your own devaluation. Promise that you'll no longer wait by the phone for someone who sees you as an option rather than a priority. Promise that you'll redirect your generous heart and remarkable qualities toward people and pursuits that reflect your worth back to you.